The average American family spent $1,000 more on groceries in 2023 than they did in 2020. That is not a coincidence. That is not bad luck. That is the direct consequence of a drought in Brazil, a war in Ukraine, and a shipping disruption in the Red Sea. The food on your supermarket shelves did not come from your state. It did not come from your country. It came from a global supply chain spanning 50 nations, and every disruption in that chain arrives at your checkout counter with a price tag attached. This is the map that connects your grocery bill to the world. Consider what is actually on your plate. The bread you eat contains wheat, 50% of which is imported from Canada, with price benchmarks set by global markets that include Ukraine and Russia. Together, the world's largest wheat exporters, accounting for 28% of global wheat trade. The cooking oil in your pantry. The United States imports significant quantities of palm oil from Indonesia and Malaysia, two countries that together produce 85% of the world's palm oil supply. The coffee in your cup. The United States imports 100% of its coffee, primarily from Brazil, Colombia, and Vietnam. Brazil alone produces 37% of the world's coffee supply. The fruit on your table. 60% of fresh fruit consumed in the United States is imported, primarily from Mexico, Guatemala, Chile, and Peru. Your grocery cart is not an American product, it is a global one. 3 separate events, in 3 separate parts of the world, demonstrate precisely how global disruptions translate into American grocery prices. Event 1. Ukraine. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine, blocking Ukrainian Black Sea ports and halting wheat and sunflower oil exports. Ukraine supplies approximately 10% of the world's wheat and 46% of global sunflower oil. Within 3 months of the invasion, global wheat prices rose 60%. American bread and pasta prices followed within 90 days. Event 2. Brazil. In 2021, Brazil experienced its worst drought in 91 years, devastating coffee and soybean crops simultaneously. Global coffee prices rose 90% between 2020 and 2022. The average price of a pound of coffee in American stores increased by 38% in the same period. Event 3. The Red Sea. In late 2023, Houthi attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea forced cargo vessels to reroute around Africa, adding 10 to 14 days to shipping times and increasing freight costs by over 300% on key routes. Fresh produce, seafood, and packaged goods from Asia arrive later and more expensive in American ports. Understanding why a drought in Brazil raises coffee prices in Chicago requires understanding how global commodity markets function. Food commodities, wheat, corn, soybeans, coffee, palm oil, are traded on global exchanges. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange and the New York Mercantile Exchange set benchmark prices that every buyer and seller on Earth references. When supply drops anywhere in the world, the global price rises everywhere simultaneously. This is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Global commodity pricing ensures that food moves efficiently from surplus regions to deficit regions. But it also means that every American consumer is directly exposed to weather events, political instability, and logistical disruptions on every continent. The food system that gives Americans access to fresh fruit in January and coffee grown in 3 continents is the same system that makes their grocery bill vulnerable to a war 6,000 miles away. The structural vulnerability of the global food system is intensifying. According to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, climate-related agricultural disruptions have increased by 60% over the past 2 decades. The regions most critical to American food supply are among the most climate vulnerable on Earth. Brazil, the world's largest agricultural exporter, faces intensifying drought cycles. Southeast Asia, supplying palm oil, rice, and seafood, faces rising sea levels and extreme heat events. Sub-Saharan Africa, increasingly integrated into global supply chains, faces the most severe projected climate impacts of any region. A 2023 report from the USDA found that climate disruptions to global supply chains could increase average American food costs by an additional 10 to 15% by 2030, on top of existing inflation. Your grocery bill is not just a reflection of today's weather. It is a preview of tomorrow's climate. The global food supply chain is one of the most sophisticated systems ever built by human civilization. It feeds 8 billion people across every continent efficiently and reliably most of the time. But it is a system built on assumptions of stable weather, open shipping lanes, peaceful borders, and functioning governments. When any of those assumptions breaks down, the price appears on your receipt within weeks. Your grocery bill is not a local issue. It never was. It is a real-time report on the health of the entire planet.